Let's take a look at what clients look for from a life coach. Well, first of all, they want to know that you are trained somewhere. They would like to see a certificate. They won't always be coming to your office. In fact, you may not even have an office as a life coach, but you'll probably have a website. Now, the reason I say you may not have an office is because you may just go to clients' offices all the time. You may not need an office other than a desk at home, perhaps, and that can be okay. But if you have a certificate, which you will by virtue of taking this program and passing it, which you will, then I suggest that you put that certificate up and you make a copy of it and make it available online on your website, which of course you should have, because clients want to see some sort of validation that you have some training and that somebody else besides them has put their faith in you. So I'm going to put my faith in you. I'm sure, by the way, that you're going to finish this program and you're going to pass everything and you're going to become a life coach. And I'm going to show that by giving you a certificate, awarding you a certificate, giving you what you've earned once you do all of that. When you have that, you have a lot because you have validation, social proof. Someone besides your customer believes in you. So you want to make sure that they see that. That's something that they're looking for. If they don't see that, they're probably going to go to somebody else who does have that. Now, interestingly enough, the more you go on in your career, the less important that's going to become, the more important results become. Initially, they're going to perhaps not know who you are because maybe you won't have any references or anything else initially. You'll just have a piece of paper that says that someone or some organization believes in you. That's going to be good enough for them. And then as you move on in your career, what's really going to carry you will be your references, what people say about you. But initially, that certificate says everything, and you want to have it. When I walk into the office of a doctor, I will look at their training. I will see who trained them. I will see how long ago they were trained. I will see the signatures, make sure everything's valid. Even though medical doctors are regulated by the state government looks into all that for me. I want to be sure. I want to see it with my own eyes. So doctors will proudly display their degrees from their medical school. And if they've gone to a school for some sort of specialty, then they will proudly display that as well. You should proudly display your certificate in your office and or on your website. Let's talk about references. References are something that come over time. You do a good job for someone and they give you a reference. They're also called testimonials. References are great. When someone says something about you that's positive, you want to make sure that other people hear about that. On my website, I have a lot of references. I have them available for everyone. Not just references from celebrities, because I have a lot of celebrity references. I have references from Joe Vitale, from John Assaraf, from Tom Mankiewicz, who wrote Superman the movie, from Geraldine Saunders, who wrote The Love Boat. I have a lot of references from people who are known by other people. But I also have references from everyday people, people who nobody has heard of other than their friends and, of course, the people they're in business with. But by and large, people don't know their names, and that's okay. You want to have a good mix of your high-power references or testimonials from celebrities and people everyone knows, people who you can walk up to someone on the street and say, hey, have you heard of so-and-so? And they would say yes 9 times out of 10. That's how you know it's a known celebrity, because people in the streets know who that person is. So you have references from them, but you also have references from everyday people, because chances are your client is going to be more of an everyday person. They want to know that you're not just the person who works with celebrities to get things done. You're a person who can work with anyone to get things done. Not just someone who's a millionaire who has a lot of capital to invest and make things happen, but someone who's maybe living a little closer to the edge of not having anything. Someone who's maybe just starting a business. The average Joe, if you will, who's just starting a business and he or she, the average Joe or Julene, they have just themselves and maybe an assistant, and you helped them. Those are great references, so always be proud of them. Always proudly display them. And again, you put these in your office. If you have an office where people are going to come in, then you have them in a book printed out for people to see in your waiting room or somewhere where it's very obvious. And you also have them on your website. You should always have a website and always have your certification and your references on your website so that people can see that other people think you are good, that other people have spent money with you and gotten results. References, otherwise called testimonials, are your ticket to landing a lot of jobs. When people see this, it's social validation, social proof. When they don't see it, they're left wondering, well, who did they help? So initially it's your certification, and then over time, always build up references. Rapport. Clients want to have rapport with you. They want to feel maybe not necessarily warm and fuzzy like they would in a therapist's office, although sometimes in a therapist's office you're supposed to feel uneasy because you're dealing with some hidden deep down issues that you're supposed to be uncovering, so you don't always want to feel warm and fuzzy. Otherwise, you may not be making any progress, but you want to have that overall sense of well-being. You want to have a connection with the person you're working with. When you don't have a connection, when you don't have a real deep down connection to them at a very basic level, then you really don't have a lot. If there were to be an argument or you were to come in late somehow one day, then you wouldn't have the ability to sail through that. They would be looking for the next thing to get you out. They'd be looking for a way to say, okay, well, Jane came in late. She's been my life coach. I never really felt connected to Jane. This is my opportunity to fire her. So people are going to be looking at that if there's an absence of rapport. With rapport, you can do everything. Without rapport, you can't do really much at all. So rapport comes in very handy. And we're always looking as life coaches for ways to deepen the rapport. The rapport happens a number of ways. One of the greatest and easiest ways that rapport happens is by finding common ground. As I spoke about earlier, you may be a Democrat, they may be a Republican, or vice versa. There may be some views you hold that are contrary to theirs. And that's okay, because you shouldn't try to whitewash everything and make everything look just like their views. That's not going to be beneficial. That's cowering down. And they're not looking for someone who cowers down. They're looking for someone who stands their ground yet works with a team. Someone who has a point of view yet is willing to put that aside temporarily to get things done. But what you want to look for, rather than selling out on your political views or anything else, is the common ground that already exists. There's got to be something you've got in common with your client. Even the most difficult clients, you've got to have something in common with them. So look for it. Is it a baseball team or a soccer team, a football team? Is it something like that? Is it a favorite color? There's got to be something. Do you both like eating hot dogs on Wednesday? Who knows? Look for something. And when you see something they do or they're into, maybe a type of art they like, point it out. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just point it out. Oh, I like Salvador Dali as well. I own a signed print from Salvador Dali. Whatever it may be, point it out. Clients expect things from a life coach. They expect things. They have expectations before you even walk in the door. If they hire you over the phone before they even see your face, they have expectations. One of the expectations is connection and communication. If they don't get this, then there's really nowhere to go. If they don't feel a connection to you, sort of like rapport, but they need to feel a connection to you. There's got to be a connection. They've got to feel that you're part of their team. They've got to feel that you're invested, you're there. You're not just a person who visits and who could care less. The workday ends and you go home and you don't care about anything. They don't want to feel that that's who they're dealing with. They want to feel they're dealing with someone who's connected. And they want to feel they're dealing with someone who communicates. This is going to require you, if you're sort of a closed-off person, this is going to require you to open up. Not totally, because I don't expect you to get in there and totally open up and just have a party in their office and expect to be okay with that and expect them to be okay with that. That's not what I'm talking about. Certain parts of your personality are better kept for after hours when you're not working with a client. But they are going to expect you to openly communicate with them. And again, this goes back to drawing boundaries. You're not going to tell them all of your woes and your sorrows and how your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband and wife is giving you trouble or anything like that. That's inappropriate. Unless they ask, then it becomes highly appropriate. But what I'm talking about is just being open, having that flow of communication, really engaging with them in communication, making eye contact, showing an interest in what's going on. When you connect and communicate, you can feel it. When you don't, you can really feel it because there's tension in the room. When you're not connected to someone, you are feeling that tension. And again, your job can be in jeopardy when that happens. So you want to make sure that you lock in your job. You want to make sure that you are making a connection and you're communicating. This doesn't mean being overly bubbly and getting in their face and laughing when you shouldn't laugh and trying to laugh at their jokes all the time and things like that. That can become annoying. What you do want to do is meet them where they're at. If they are very talkative and they want you to talk, then be very talkative with them. Open up a little bit. Talk with them. If they're not like that, if they like to work quietly and they'd like you to get your work done quietly, then do that. You've got to gauge for yourself. But connection and communication are key, and that's one of the main things that clients expect from you. Fulfillment and satisfaction. They want to feel not as if you're solving every challenge that they've ever had and bringing them to some state of nirvanic bliss in their lives. They're not looking for something quite like that. Well, most clients aren't. Some clients actually are. But in most cases, 99% of the cases, they're not looking for that. What they are looking at when I talk about fulfillment and satisfaction is that they want to feel that they're getting their money's worth. They want to feel that you are contributing to the team. You're actually bringing something to the table. You're actually stepping up and bringing something to them. And satisfaction comes into play because they feel satisfied. Every time they work with you, they feel satisfied that they've gotten a little bit further. They're satisfied that what you did that day really adds up to you earning your keep, earning your pay, justifying your existence in their presence. You're not wasting their time, in other words. You're getting things done. So they want to feel that fulfillment and that satisfaction in terms of knowing that you're really bringing something of value to the table. You're coming in there and you're helping them out. You're helping them strategize. You're helping them figure out a way to be calm. You're helping them figure out solutions to challenges that they've been facing. And you are going to bring that fulfillment and satisfaction. Again, it doesn't mean that you're there to solve every woe that they could possibly have. It doesn't mean that you are the final answer to everything in their lives. It doesn't mean that they're on the brink of a divorce and you walk in and you suddenly save the marriage. When you're just hired to save the business, you end up saving the marriage. It doesn't mean that you need to fulfill every aspect of their lives. However, if they've brought you in to do A, B, and C, and you've only done A, well, what happened to B and C? You've left something unfulfilled. You've left the client unsatisfied. And as I keep on saying, you know what happens when the client's unfulfilled and unsatisfied. Your job becomes tentative. You become optional. And we don't want that. We want you, we, meaning you and I, want you to succeed. So make sure that you're always working toward those ideas of fulfillment and satisfaction. You are there to fulfill their business desires. You're there to satisfy the needs of the company. And whatever capacity you find yourself working within, always keep these two things in mind. Fulfillment and satisfaction are things that people expect from a life coach. How about direction and influence? If you were just coming in and sitting there like a wallflower and you're just kind of watching things happen and you're waiting for direction and you're waiting for influence and you're waiting for them to tell you what to do, that's what an employee does. And employees are paid to do that. They come in and the boss has something to tell them and he or she tells them what to do and they do it. That's an employee. Your title is coach. Think about a coach in a football game. Whether you define football as soccer, kicking a ball, or football as American football, throwing a ball and kicking a ball, football is a sport, and a football coach is there to make sure things get done. It's there to offer direction and influence. The coach is on the sidelines. The coach isn't in the game, but yet he or she really is in the game. They're in the game in the sense that they are influencing the game. They are making it happen. No, they're not on the team, and you will not be an employee of the business. You'll be a contractor who's been hired to help out in most cases. However, you have a tremendous influence over the team. You are the director. You are there to make things happen. So never mistake your job for that of an employee. It's not as if you show up and ask, what should I do today? Or just follow a set of routine orders in most cases. Sometimes you will, unfortunately, but in most cases, you're not going to be acting in that capacity. You're going to have to make up your own rules in many cases. You're going to be called upon to be the coach, to be the leader, to be the facilitator of change, to bring change to that organization. So always think in those terms. You need to be an active, influential person who's giving direction. That's what clients expect. That's what they want from you. They want you to be proactive. When something happens, you should have an opinion about it. If your opinion is important and you feel that it will influence something that may happen down the line, you need to share that opinion. If your opinion is not that important and it's just an opinion you have, then you can keep that to yourself. But in most cases, the opinion you have will be vitally important and is, in fact, what you're being paid to offer. So always keep that in mind, that as a coach, you have tremendous influence and you're offering direction. So clients also expect peace and harmony. They expect you to bring this even when things seem like a disaster. Sometimes you're going to walk into a company and it's going to look like a bomb just hit it. It's going to look like something just went through that company and destroyed it. Maybe not physically, but in some sense it's going to be in shambles. That's the situation you get called into in many cases. You get called into a situation in which things really aren't going that well. And because things aren't going that well, you've been called in. You wouldn't be called in if they were going well, and you have been called in because they're not, and that's just the way it is. Your job in the midst of all this chaos and all this nonsense and all these shambles that everything's in, your job is to offer peace and harmony. If you can do that, then you're going to go a long way. A lot of times with my hypnotherapy clients, they'll come to me and they'll be stressed out beyond belief. They'll come in and they'll just be talking a mile a minute about everything that's going wrong. What do I start doing? I start calming them down. I start talking like this. And when I talk like this, what I find is that they are able to relax. They start thinking like this, and they start talking like this. And then we're both talking very calmly. Not ridiculously so, not like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, welcome to my neighborhood. It doesn't get ridiculous like that, but I calm them down within reason. I realize that they are stressed. I realize at the same time that they have a good reason to be stressed because their lives are difficult and challenging. However, in order to get anything done, I need them to be calm. So, you're going to have a much bigger challenge than that because you're going to be dealing with an organization in many cases. So it's not just a one-on-one situation where you're calming down your client sometimes you'll have to calm down an entire organization. This means putting certain practices into place, suggesting certain practices. Maybe they can start playing peaceful music or have waterfalls or have more vacations or something like that. But in many cases, they're going to expect you to bring peace and harmony. Keep in mind that if you go in there with guns a-blazing, as they say, and you're trying to revolutionize everything, you could potentially add more chaos than they already have. What happens when that happens? You know what happens. I don't have to say it again, do I? You know what happens when you add something negative to the situation. Keep in mind that in order to build something great, peace and harmony are necessary. This can be challenging at times, but you can bring that to them.